Now, if you've got your wildcard active for game week 35, first of all, fair play to you for keeping it this long. And in today's video, we are going to take a look at the ultimate guide and, of course, build you the best team for this game week. Now, of course, before we head into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as it is massively appreciated by myself. Let's head on then before we dive into the wildcard team itself, talking about the fixtures that you need to be targeting towards the end of the season. Now, there's still lots of rumours circulating whether or not we're going to have a double game week in 36, potentially in 37, and regarding blanks as well, they could also be a thing in game week 37. But of course, we do have the GOAT, Ben Crellin, to try and decipher all of the fixture congestion that potentially we might have over the next few weeks. This is his most up-to-date spreadsheet that he does have that gives the percentage chances of doubles and likely teams to be doubling. So, of course, Aston Villa, City, Tottenham and Bournemouth are the most likely, and that is where a lot of our players are going to be, of course, coming from for this wildcard. It does mean then that we are going to have to build up transfers heading into 37 to, of course, potentially navigate blank game weeks. Now, he has said on Twitter as well that he isn't 100% kind of confirmed that they're all going to be doubles or all going to be blanks. You know, certain teams are also requesting fixtures to be moved. Spurs are asking for their fixture against Villa to be moved to obviously give them more time to progress to the Europa League final as well. So there's still a lot of moving parts. And my number one piece of advice, if I was on a wild card this week, would just be to probably bring in the players that you want to target for now, but be open to suggestions and leave, you know, yourself enough time closer to the deadline to look through the fixtures and the teams that are potentially doubling and blanking in game week 36 and 37, as it still is very much up in the air. The other situation that I don't think a lot of people have clicked onto within the FPL community as of yet is the situation happening out in Spain and Portugal, where they're having mass blackouts across the country. Now, you might think that has absolutely nothing to do with the Premier League. Why would it affect FPL? Well, Manchester United have to go to Bilbao. You know, you've got Arsenal, who are playing, not Arsenal, I said Real Madrid then, sorry, Barcelona also have a fixture as well to kind of contend with, so there might be some movement within those Champions League fixtures. They might not take place on Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday anymore if, of course, there are issues in Spain. I imagine UEFA might come up with some sort of ruling, potentially moving them if this blackout is to continue. But again, that is one to further monitor, because if those games move, then again, we potentially could see other Premier League games move to, of course, kind of, you know, get those European fixtures in before, of course, the finals and obviously the second legs. So do just be wary that there are still a lot of moving parts if you are on a wild card this week. And the best suggestion that I can obviously give to you guys is make sure that you are following Ben Crellin on Twitter, because he will be the one who will provide you with the most up-to-date kind of projections and, of course, when the news does break regarding those potential doubles and blanks. But for now, this is the position we're left in, and this is what this wildcard is going to be focusing on, looking for this game week and obviously 36 and 37. Let's take a look then at the predicted points heading into this final kind of stretch of the season. And as you can see, Mohamed Salah still cooking despite no, obviously, you know, glaring double game weeks coming up for Liverpool over the next few. 29 predicted points over that period. He spoke yesterday very, very highly in his interview as well, talking about the fact that he wants to, of course, go and break the record for the most goal involvements in a Premier League season. That is the record he is now looking to break. You could definitely see yesterday that he still wanted to get himself goals, get himself assists, just was hungry for the returns. And you definitely feel with some of the fixtures coming up, he still is going to be an absolutely fantastic captain and a very important player. I don't see the kind of same situation with Cole Palmer. I'm a little bit concerned why he is so high up on this list. I think the Fantasy Football Hub algorithm here is massively overrating him, for me, in my personal opinion. He would not be a player I would be considering on my wildcard. 102 days since his last Premier League goal, only 2 attacking returns in his past 10 games as well. It's just not good enough, especially when you're paying 10.6 million. Not for me really going to be justifying that price point. Alexander Isak, I definitely think he's a great shout to have in there, obviously getting himself a goal and starting to get back within the goals as well. Cunha, definitely a player I would be considering, obviously entering the final stretch of probably his Wolves tenure as a player as well, but Still absolutely delivering the goods, and obviously if you went for him on the free hit this week, you 100% saw why he is one of the most important picks on a wild card this week. Arsenal players and Saka in general, I genuinely probably would be avoiding as well. Their sole focus now, with Liverpool winning the league and top 4 and basically Champions League football confirmed next season, is going to be winning the Champions League. That is where Arsenal's sole focus is going to be. The Premier League isn't really going to matter. So again, Saka, Saliba, Kivior, Raya, any of the other rotation midfielders, for me, again, would not be getting any sort of consideration in my personal opinion. And Mbeumo and Visser, definitely would be looking at those two as well. Marmoush and KDB, also great shouts. Wood, Diaz, yes. Haaland sneaking his way back in, with obviously rumours that he's obviously potentially getting himself up to fitness, but for now, probably wouldn't look at him as a potential option. But some really interesting names in there, and some clear names I think personally you should be avoiding. The big names like Palmer and Saka for me, definitely two names I would not be having on my Game Week 35 wildcard. But let's head on into my team for this game week. Now let's head into the wildcard team for Game Week 35 then, starting off first with our goalkeepers and defenders. We're going to go for the pairing of cheap Areola on the bench, then we're going to go for Jordan Pickford. They actually played 2 of the bottom sides within their final 4 games. You imagine when the betting data does come out as well, Ipswich at home, it is probably going to be very high up on there, and I do think he is just a steady, safe pair of hands. Obviously, there are other goalkeepers you potentially could take a look at. Martinez, if there are potential doubles, maybe going for that double City defence as well when we know the fixtures, but for now, I probably would just be looking at a safe, steady pair of hands, and I do believe with Everton having some positive home fixtures over the next few, Pickford definitely could be a very decent option to go for. Moving into that back line then, let's start off first with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I think this game at the weekend against Spurs perfectly exemplified what Trent can do compared to Conor Bradley. He is honestly a magical player. We don't know how long we've got him left in the game for FPL, but it's clear night and day that Trent Alexander-Arnold is one of the best right backs within the Premier League and an absolutely sensational asset from an FPL perspective as well. We actually don't know the reason that Conor Bradley did miss out on the game as well, so maybe one to monitor with Slot's press conference. But if he's going to be out for the rest of the season, I think Trent would definitely be a player I would be strongly considering on my wildcard. He'll be a mega super differential because a lot of people won't have the transfers or won't have the kind of ability to move funds around to go and get him in. So I think he could be a really fun, exciting, big kind of upside potential differential for your wildcard for the remainder of the season. Ezri Konsa's in there. Villa have actually been pretty decent over the past 5 game weeks for XG conceded. You know, one of the top teams are in that metric. They've obviously got no Champions League football, a potential double in 36 as well. And he is just a safe, cheap, easy, reliable player to kind of, you know, just come in if there is a double game week. Same goes with City. Obviously, we saw Gvardiol score yesterday in the FA Cup game. He still is my favourite Manchester City defender to, of course, select out of the bottom lot. And it also does depend what defenders Manchester City actually line up with, because some games, kind of over the past 5 game weeks, they've gone with 2 midfielders, classed as midfielders within the game, whether that be Nunes or O'Reilly. So that means then you're only competing with 2 players for the bonus if they keep, you know, a clean sheet in a very, very tight game. It would be between him and Diaz, and usually Gvardiol does outweigh that. We saw that a few game weeks ago where he did manage to pick himself up free bonus. It was a very tight game. Manchester City kept a clean sheet, but because he's not competing with 4 defenders, he's only completing one other guy. That is why I still like him as a potential option. Like I said, that double game week as well, also very good and something to potentially consider as well. On the bench, we've gone for Nico Williams. There's a small percentage chance that Nottingham Forest could double, but even if they don't, their fixtures are really good. He's probably the most attacking one in there. Of course, if budget would allow, I would have preferred to go for Milenkovic. He obviously has more threat from set pieces and would have probably been the better or more preferred option in my instance, but obviously budget restrictions have meant that we're going for Nico Williams. And then finally, we've got Justin. I think any sort of just 4.1 million playing defender here from Leicester is probably going to be the ticket if you are just looking for a dud that is going to sit on the bench. They do, of course, play Southampton and Ipswich within their final 2 games, and you never know if you do need one of them or want to potentially take a gamble on Justin this week with Southampton, and then maybe in game week 37, look at that Ipswich fixture as well. Could be decent potential differential options to go for there. Let's head on then into the midfield, starting off first with a very popular pick, and we saw his name feature on the predicted points over the next few weeks. It is going to be Mbeumo, one of my favourite players to own this season. 25 goal involvements. The guy is just a gem, yet to play as, of course, in blank game week 34. Their fixture is on Thursday, so do just make sure that he does make it, of course, through that fixture. The reason that I really like the Brentford fixtures coming up, obviously this Manchester United fixture, one of the worst sides for XG conceded at the moment within the Premier League, and their sole focus is, of course, going to be on the Europa League, progressing through, and like I said, making sure that they get to that final to obviously get Champions League football for next season. I think Mbeumo at home against United, that to me just screams absolute cookfest and would be, again, one of the first names that I would have on my team sheet. Jarrod Bowen has been in really good form, and he fits the talisman profile that I absolutely love. Plays 90 minutes, is always involved in a team's goals as well, and that is what Jarrod Bowen does. Over his past 5 game weeks, he's had 4 goal involvements as well. An absolutely killer performance in game week 34 as well, with 2 assists. Tottenham, again, very similar situation to Manchester United. Their sole focus is going to be on the Europa League, so we could see a potentially rotated squad heading into that West Ham fixture. And I think after watching them at the weekend, I really want to attack Spurs for the remainder of the season. They look absolutely dismal. Mohamed Salah's in here. Obviously, we saw he's top of the predicted points by a country mile on the Fantasy Football Hub model. The Chelsea away fixture as well. I'm still very happy to captain Salah, to be honest. Yeah, easy pick. No real kind of qualms on that one. We saw in the interview yesterday, once they'd won the Premier League, that he's still got that hunger and that desire to go and get himself more goal involvements. KDB, it's a little bit like, just one last dance, really, is kind of how I want to put this one. A lot of us who have played FPL for a number of years know what KDB has provided. Some absolutely magical moments, and one of those was, of course, against Wolves, a very similar time of the year as well, where he absolutely destroyed them in the first half. Maybe he's going to run it back for old time's sake. There's obviously the potential chance that Manchester City get, of course, a double in game week 36, and I definitely think KDB would be a very good option. We are seeing his Premier League minutes, of course, looking very good. There was a rest for him at the weekend with the FA Cup fixture as well, so I'd probably back him to play this Wolves fixture and the remainder of course, all their Premier League fixtures. And I think in game week 38, if you are looking for a really fun and maybe memorable captain option, KDB could be that man. Finally on the bench is Morgan Rogers. Obviously no more Champions League football. I think Rogers has been a stupendous player throughout the whole of this campaign, and I think he'll want to end the season very strongly for Aston Villa. Of course, in the race for top 4 football, so they've still got a lot on the line, and you do feel one of the players that is going to have a big impact on that is, of course, going to be Morgan Rogers. Now, again, Villa, there is a small percentage chance that they could get a double in 36 as well. So again, just further adding to why I would select him in my side. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at my front three. Starting off with Cunha. Again, we saw him on the predicted points. Not the easiest fixture heading to the Etihad, but he is a BPS magnet. His usual baseline BPS is sitting between 12 and 16. If you, of course, a striker gets a goal, they sit to 26 on top of that. So he's usually, if he just gets one goal, probably going to come away with 2 to 3 bonus points. The guy's an absolute joke. You could see that he's Wolves' best player night and day. Compared to Strand Larson, there just is no difference. Cunha, again, would be one of the first names on my wildcard this week. Same with Alexander Isak as well. No doubles, but again, I think he'll want to end the season strong, potentially try and push Mohamed Salah towards that golden boot, and I don't think there's going to be any rest for him, of course, with Newcastle chasing down Champions League football as well for the remainder of the season. Chris Wood as well. There are some absolutely brilliant fixtures coming up for Nottingham Forest. Let me just bring these up for you. As you can see here, Crystal Palace, Leicester, West Ham and Chelsea, all really decent sides that I would be looking to attack for these remaining few game weeks. Of course, there is a small percentage chance as well that Nottingham Forest do, of course, get themselves a double game week as well. And Chris Wood, again, would be one of those players that I'd be really looking to have within my side. That is my wildcard for game week 35. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team or you're on a wildcard yourself, put your team in the comment section and we'll try and help you out as best as we can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 35.